Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Press Play Lifestyle Inspired podcast, where we do interviews with inspirational people like my new friend Jen here. Hi, Jen. As well as provide
Hi.
custom, woo, yay. She said hi back. I didn't wait. And provide content on topics like resources, tools, and support to be your best inspired self. So, how are you doing today, Miss Jen?
I am excellent. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on the show.
I'm so glad that you found time. I know everyone's very busy these days, and I always appreciate people who are willing to share their time with me as well as their stories. So I'm equally as thankful that you chose to be on the show. So thank you. So can you just tell our audience, just like let them get to know you, tell them a little bit about who Jen is and what you're doing in the world.
Well, I would say the Jen that most people saw on the outside is probably no different than what you see with a lot of people. I was working in corporate America for about 15 years, and kind of did the standard, went to college, had a job. I was very successful in my career. I was working as a director of IT. I had a house. Everything on the outside looked really good. I think most people on the outside looking in would say, wow, she's got a really great life. And um, but on the inside, and what I didn't share with people was that I was really broken on the inside, and I was really living this double life. And it was one that I had started, and I had always known that because when I was 12, I started with this eating disorder, and that took my teenage years. But I had learned at a very young age to show you what you wanted to see, or what you should see, and then have this life that I really kept to myself. And then in my mid 30s, I picked my head up, and there I was again, very successful in my career, but an alcoholic. I was going in and out of jails, hospitals. I really was hitting a lot of rock bottom moments. But who is Jen Sugermeyer? I'm that person that you always saw, the one that appeared to be happy. And I've done a lot within myself to really fix that part of me that was broken. So I'm grateful to be here today and to share one person who's very happy all around, and happy to share my entire life with anyone. And that's really what brings me on the show, and what has propelled me forward. So
Wow, thank you. That was like a whole lot of stuff in one
it
little
was a
nugget.
lot of stuff.
You've been practicing. I love it. So, I find often now, I don't know if often good or often bad or it's just the nature of the show, but my story is very similar to yours. I was head of my game, software developer, and everyone's like, "Oh, she's taken over the world. Look how perfect her life is."
Mhm.
And maybe not so much, right? Maybe not so much. And a different path, of course. But one of the things that you pointed out that I think is so telling is um, you learned how you should behave, how you should show up for the rest of the world, right? Even at a young age, at 12. And I've been hearing a lot lately. So I think we spend so much time shooting on ourselves that we end up being under a pile of it. Um,
Mhm.
and the what I love about your story and the opportunity that you're giving us is you can come out from underneath the pile.
Mhm.
Um, it's interestingly, it's literally all about caring about you, right?
Yeah.
Like for the first time ever.
Yeah.
So can you tell us, like, how did you look in the mirror one day and go, "Whoa, where's Jen? Like,
That's
how
that's
do
a
I do this?"
Yes, that's a great question. So again, I had many lows in my life, and a lot of that should have been my aha moment. I was not able to get close to be. I had a lot of friends. I've I seem to have networked my way around, and I had a lot of people in my circle, but there were only I couldn't let people get that close to me because I didn't want them to see the dysfunction. So even my best of friends, there was still some level of barrier that I withheld. Which also meant in the dating space that wasn't really an area that was going overly well for me. I think when you're in those kind of when you're in a relationship, you really need to share everything, and that's a whole nother topic. But anyhow, I had a lot of, we'll just leave it at, unsuccessful relationships, and so I was very adamant about not wanting to be in one, because I needed to fix myself, and I knew that. And at one point I made the decision. I said, I think I'm ready to get into a relationship. I am really ready. I'm gonna stop drinking and being in this. I did a lot of this if then. If I get in a relationship, then I will be
Then,
fixed,
yeah.
right? Like, poor guy, right? I mean,
Well,
no pressure on you, but
yeah. Yeah, please
so
fix me, right?
yeah,
Fix
please.
me. I know you're it's the opposite though, right? Sometimes what you find is um women always think they're gonna fix the guys, right? But you're like, oh, I'll get in this relationship and somehow if I do that, then that's my reward for cleaning up, right? Kind of that
And
scenario.
exactly, and I have done that in other areas. If I get to a certain salary, or if I get to, I just had this if then. And so I started dating this guy, and I didn't stop drinking, but I hid it from him. And but he was close enough to me, and here's what it was. He said 7 words that changed the course of my entire life. And we sat down and we had the talk. And he said, Jen, you need to learn to love yourself. And it was in those 7 words that my entire world, I froze, first of all, because I had all of these thoughts just flood my brain. It's not that he was the only one that had gotten close to see anything, but he was the only one that didn't say, do you remember what you did last night? Or come at me with some level of angst or anger or aggression. He came at me with compassion and love and caring. And I don't think he had any idea what was really going on. And it was in that moment that I said, man, I knew I didn't have a lot of self-love. I knew I had some. But it was like, wow, I will never be that person I always imagined myself to be. What happened to that 5-year-old child that was so excited for life and thought she was going to be on stage being a singer, and just, what happened to that? And that's what struck me. So it wasn't all my times in jail and hospitals and going straight into the office and all this unmanageable life. It was literally those 7 words, Jen, you need to learn to love yourself. And that
Mm.
was the key that unlocked everything. And I've
Wow.
been sober ever since, believe it or not. So
Wow.
that was it. That was my aha moment.
That's amazing. Yeah. Wow, I got all teared up then. I'm like, oh. And I wonder if there's a saying that I'd heard over the couple of years that I've been doing this as well, and it was the place that healing comes from, right? Healing doesn't come from a place of judgment. So, like all these interventions, things where you go, like, you do you know what you did? Like shaming people
Hmm.
into their shame, right? They're already living in that place. But healing does come from a place of curiosity.
Hmm.
And so, if we would have more gentleness to say, hey, Jen, have you thought about how you love yourself? Have you, and essentially it's what he asked you, like, what's going on, girlfriend? You
Hmm.
can't love me if you can't love you. And thankfully he did that, right? Thankfully.
Hmm.
But I think that's what the the beauty of coaching is, and where I actually think coaching is going to help save a lot of people in the world, because I think we've all just gotten lost from ourselves. And a great coach comes at you curiously and asks you about you, and then
Hmm.
holds space for you while you can show up and join us there when we already know how great you are.
Hmm.
We can see through the should pile.
Yes.
We see through the should pile. So was wow, man, that's a huge moment for you. And I love that it was a moment of love and not a
Hmm.
jail, or not a I woke up the next day so hungover. Those are almost the easy moments, to think like, oh yeah, that's the moment I decided to get, but not
Yeah.
living in a judgment pile, right? That wasn't where it was at.
Yeah.
So when you stopped drinking, did you find you had other self-sabotaging, behaviors that were kind of piling up, or was that the big one for you? Was, because you had mentioned the eating thing as a
Right.
young teen, and It sounds
Yeah.
like there's some patterns there that you've had to
Yeah.
overcome.
Yeah, no, that's great that you picked up on that. And it's certainly so I have an addictive personality and I know that. Um, I actually had gone, this was back in 2014. I went into an eating disorder recovery group and I started crying and I said, I don't know why I'm here, but I don't know if I should be here in AA or with a therapist. But when I look at where all my problems started, they were here. And I didn't realize when I was 12, but I was creating this behavioral pattern in my life, and my brain was going, I was kept triggering my reward system. So yes, when I pulled this out, and I stopped smoking at the same time, so I stopped smoking and drinking, and it
You're,
was
like, going through a series DTs for,
so,
like, a month.
oh my gosh, yeah, at least my face just wow. um so I was going through a lot, and because my body's just used to going after something that will satisfy it, it took different forms. So, and although some of these seem benign, I took them to different levels. So I got addicted to chewing gum. I started chewing 3 packs of gum a day. So the aspartame, I was just
I seriously did the same thing when I quit smoking,
yeah,
and I did the gum for, like, a year and a half
yeah.
because I had to do one thing to replace it. It was really
Yes. Yes.
so hard.
And
It
that
shouldn't have
was
been that
almost
hard.
that was almost worse getting rid of than the alcohol and the cigarettes. Like that was absolutely horrible. Um, Coffee. I started drinking 10 to 12 cups of coffee a day. So I needed to get rid of that. Yeah, it was just those little kinds of things that and so I have to, as part of the program that I walk, I have to be aware of those things that I'm starting to overdo because I can overdo, and I have taken like cinnamon, Splenda, like I've overdone everything in my life. And that's just who I am. I'm like all or none, which can be a really great thing or it can be a hurtful thing. And I just have to know the difference. Um, and so yeah, that's a great question. I definitely had some other supplements that I put those into. And really now I try to find healthy channels in my life. And oh, I've had to learn this word that I have despised my entire life, and it is moderation. Oh, I
Moderation.
hate that word. Oh, I hate it because I just want to do
Ah.
everything to the nth degree. And I'm like, just back off a little
My husband might say I resemble that remark. I call mine, a batch I'm a batch processor because 'cause I'm tech what
uh,
you're from tech.
uh-huh.
I do
Yeah.
everything, like, all in, all at
Yeah.
once,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
and then I'm done. Like, that
Yeah.
like, it's like, if I could only pick exercise as my one. But, there's one of the things you said was well, everything you said was very interesting, but, had me thinking. There's this great, author, Brené Brown,
Oh,
and
love her.
isn't she fantabulous?
Amazing.
So one of the things she said in one of her books, I've read them all, so I can't tell which one it is. And it was an audiobook, and I was taking a walk, um, oddly at a monastery. We're walking the walking path and listening to her book. And she said similar. She's like, I had the poo-poo platter of addictions,
Hmm.
right? It was a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So I go to AA and they're like, "Well, you're not a drunk enough," right? You go to, Smokers Anonymous, whatever. I know there isn't one, but you don't smoke enough, right? You go to Eater Overeating Anonymous, you don't overeat enough. And so her sponsor was like, "You just have the poo poo platter of addictions, right? A
Hmm.
little bit of everything or a whole lot of things." And I think that, and she's A type personality, right? Go, 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 do all the things, be all the people. And but I think they all still come from that awakening that your man friend gave you, which is we're feeling something with all of that stuff, right? We're feeling
Hmm.
some kind of hole that we have that they kind of started us on that path to not seeing our own value. And so when you said it started at 12 with the eating, and then you realize later, like, maybe this is where I need to restart because that was where it began. What was it just a lifetime of little things, or were there, like, big moments that caused, like, these shifts in behavior for you?
I think when I would, when I got a handle on the eating disorder, that's when the drinking started. And then the drinking lasted for about 15 years. So I would say those are the two large ones in smoking. Um, but littered in there, I mean, it's just all kinds of little things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I literally I meant when I said cinnamon was an issue, I would go through a Costco size cinnamon in 8 days. And I was doing that for a long time because it's good for your metabolism. Like, I don't know that that much is good for your metabolism. I don't know what I was doing, but I
Everything
just,
in moderation, right? That
right,
dirty word that we don't like. That's
right. Yeah.
well,
So
you're
I had a lot of,
doing
mhm.
sorry. You had a
Oh
lot of
no. So I had a lot of things sprinkled in there,
yeah,
but my,
with
you know,
cinnamon.
yeah, with cinnamon and spray butter. Oh, that was a bad one too.
I like spray butter too. I haven't had no addictions to that kind of stuff, but I do like cinnamon. I don't know
Mhm.
why. Cinnamon is maybe it's because it's got a little extra something in there. Well, there's good news to this story though,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
you were able to sort of learn about yourself enough to realize that you had this poo-poo platter of things sprinkled in after you got rid of the big one. And now you're doing like you have a different life. Like you have a
Mhm.
book coming out or already out. I'm not sure where we are with
Mhm.
that. You're speaking, you have like all kinds of things going on. So how did that mess turn into this new mastery of yours? Like what are you showing up as now?
Yeah, so I guess a good thing about my intense personality is I literally, when we were sitting on the couches across from each other, I decided that I was going to take a year and dedicate it to myself. And he and I only lasted another 2 weeks, but which was great because I used that time for myself, and I said I'm not going to date. This was just what worked for me and my situation. Um, and I got very intense about myself, and I started to learn about myself and do all these different things. And what happened was, at some point I realized I am working a program. And what I did was I decided I said I'm not going to start writing until 1 year of having worked this program, which was also my 1 year sobriety date. And I had written down everything that worked for me. And so I started writing. Reset is the name of the book, and I've actually trademarked the program. So Reset stands for recognize, eliminate, structure, elevate, and transform. And within those 5 steps, I boiled that down, which is my coaching program as well as the book, how people can work the same steps that I did to reclaim power over your life and your mind and learn to love yourself. And so that's really how it became. I mean, I knew I was capable of more, and I was so frustrated with myself. And I think very much in the same way that you are, that, you're this go-getter, you're this, and I knew all of these things about myself. And in a lot of areas, I was very good and I was moving forward, like with my job. But I knew as a human that I had a lot to offer the world, and I wasn't optimizing that because I was really held down by these addictions. And doesn't mean I wasn't putting some good into this world. It just means I knew I was capable of more. And I really invested a lot. I sold my house, my truck. I mean, I moved. I did a lot of things. I poured my heart and soul into this book. It went out March 11th. It did
I
hit.
thought it was close. Yay.
Yes, yes, and it hit number one bestseller, not just bestseller list, but number one bestseller. So I'm very, very grateful for that. And yeah, I'm so excited about the impact that it's going to be able to have on the world, because this was such an impactful program for me to work. And I look at this holistic, um, a holistic approach to your life. And I'm so grateful that I even got to go through and do all the edits, because I just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So that is my coaching program. And from a high level, it digs into it a lot in the book as well. But yeah, that's that. So that's how I really transformed all of that. I said, you know what I have, I want everyone else to have. Honestly, this isn't, I'm not just saying this, my life gets better every day. I'm so happy. I love myself, and I hated myself before. So if I could make this transformation, anyone can. And I really think that the way that I've been able to write it out makes it a very easy method for others to follow as well.
And what I really love about that is um I'm very process oriented, right? Maybe that comes from the technology originating background. Um, but even if you're not a process person, right? knowing kind of where you're going, right? Knowing that there is a program, there is steps that you can follow that can take you from the mess that you're in to a master of your own life is is very hopeful. It's a
Mhm.
hopeful message that I think anybody can relate to, regardless of whether you have addictions or not, but just having this desire to know yourself and to love yourself. And so I love the program. I love the book. And we were going to, for sure, in the show notes, we'll put links to where people can order the book. And we'll also have your website and anything else you want to, like, parting words or anything you want to share with the audience. Let us, what do you think? What's our parting words for everyone today?
Excellent. So so I actually have, I would encourage everyone to go out. JenSugarmeyer.com. So sugar is spelled with an E. I just got a freebie on there, and it's a concept called date yourself, and I talk about this in the book. And so this is one thing that I would encourage all of your readers or all of your listeners to just really think about, and then go out on online and download the freebie. um, so what I did was I dated myself, and this isn't for just single people. This has nothing to do with if you're in a relationship or not. I want you to treat you like you date you, and I want you to do exactly what you would do as if you were, let's say, in the first 3, 4 months of a relationship. You get to know someone, you do nice things for them. Hopefully, you're doing this in the long term. But anyway, let's just go to the first 3, 4 months. Learn what they like, learn what they dislike. You do special things, buy them something special. You really get to know that person. And that is how I want you to treat you. So it's a concept that I call date yourself. And I did that. That's exactly what I did. And it was, sometimes it was kind of awkward. It's if you've become so disconnected with yourself, to try to reconnect. But and you mentioned this earlier, and I talk about this a lot in the book. Everything everything was learned throughout our life, and life happens to all of us. So my story is unique to me. I'm the only one that has the Jen Sugarmeyer name, that has done the Jen Sugarmeyer things. But I'm not unique in the sense that life has piled on me. We've all had whatever relationships, kids, there's been deaths, there's been moves, there's been jobs, there's been bills, there's traffic, there's just life, and it piles on us. And sometimes we just need to unravel that. And it's all in our minds. And so it's learning to be positive, learning to love ourselves. And so those are the two main concepts I would say that are in the book. It's reframing the mind, and unraveling those things that we were taught. I was that 5-year-old child that wanted to be on stage singing with a microphone, and I was a 5-year-old that was awkward with a mediocre voice that probably, wouldn't have made one of these television shows, The Voice or America's Got Talent. But I had that confidence. I had that self love, regardless of what anybody else would tell me. I had that confidence, and it was life that piled on us. And so sometimes we just need to take a step back and reconnect with ourselves. We need to date ourselves. We need to work on being positive, and you can force yourself to do that. And that's exactly what I did. So there is hope for everyone, because really, if I can do this, anyone can do this. And sometimes we just need a little help and coaching and reminder. And that's what this book is. That's what my one-on-one coaching is. And I also have another online program that's going to be coming out shortly. I've put together the workbook. I'm right now filming all of the videos that go along with that. So sometimes all it takes is just a little extra push and that reminder, and somebody that holds us accountable. And so that is what you can find at jensugarmeyer.com, and as well as links for the book and things like that. So those would be my parting words.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing Reset with us and your story. I will make sure we have all of that great information in the show notes. And when the program comes out, you have to make sure to let us know so we can send it out to the listeners and let them know about your launch. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Have a great day. We'll talk to you again soon.
All
Bye.
right. Thanks. Bye.